Welcome to the Salem Business Journal podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Pione, and with me I have Lisa Harnish.
Well, hello, Jesse. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Well, I'm glad to hear. It's Christmas Eve.
It is Christmas Eve, and let me tell you, that Christmas spirit has it's all over for me. And after this today, I get to go pick up my daughter from the airport. So the holidays are starting.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Where's your daughter right now?
She's in Massachusetts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have family out there?
No, she is a teacher in Massachusetts, and she went to college out there and just never came home.
Wow.
So she's a high school teacher, teaches physics and chemistry.
That is awesome.
It is. It's so cool.
Yeah, I love physics. I actually
Yeah.
almost majored in physics for my undergrad.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but then I went economics because, I don't know, I don't like getting told what to do.
Well,
And,
that tracks.
Yeah,
That tracks.
yeah. But it is something that really interests me. So I'm all constantly reading up on science stuff all the time because
cool.
the whole, all this stuff about space exploration that we're doing, or stuff with semiconductors and chips, and how are we making things smaller, more efficient. Energy has a lot to do with
Yes.
physics, and how
Yes.
are we going to build sustainable energy for the future. And that's a huge conversation in the country right now is energy.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that's something I nerd out on that stuff. So
Oh, well, good for you.
yeah. So it's
That's
cool that she does it.
awesome. Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
She's super awesome. I'm
Yeah.
very excited. And then our youngest lives close by, so we're just going to have a great holiday.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for
Yeah.
you. Well, real quick, I'd like to thank our sponsors. Thank you to Hotel Salem and Compass Visuals for sponsoring the podcast. Appreciate you guys. You make it possible. And thanks.
Nice.
Anywho, Lisa.
Yeah.
What do you do with your life?
Well, my day job, such as it is I am the executive director for Marion and Polk Early Learning Hub. And we are a nonprofit that works with the community in a variety of different ways to help to support children and families in being more ready for kindergarten.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's a hefty responsibility.
It is, and I absolutely love it.
How long have you been doing that?
Been 11 years.
11 years. I was going to say. 'Cause
Yeah.
I remember we met 10 years ago. It's
Yeah.
10 years ago now.
Yep,
That's
that's
and
exactly
so it seems like
crazy.
Yeah,
We
I know.
both have grown up.
Yeah, we're adults now. We're adulting.
We're adulting. Look
Yeah.
at us go.
But, I remember from the minute that I met you, one of the things I really liked about you was that you're a very genuine person.
Thank you.
I've always really appreciated that about you. And I
Thank
think
you.
that you actually care, which
I do.
I think you've heard a lot of my
Yeah.
rants over the
Yeah.
years about I could say this now because I'm not. I can do whatever. I can say whatever I want now. But one of the things that really bothered me was when, the teachers were always super passionate about the kids because you have to in order to do that job.
Yeah.
But sometimes I would meet administrators who I felt didn't care about
Yeah.
what was going on
Yeah.
or I don't know. I just sometimes I didn't. When people's intentions weren't, hey, what's the best thing I could do for kids? And how can we help kids? That irked the crap out of me.
Absolutely.
And I remember ranting to you quite a few
Yep.
times about this.
We had some long conversations about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
one thing that I really can tell about you is that you genuinely just care about the kids.
Yeah.
And that's something that, I've seen through your actions, over the past decade now of
you.
you've been very consistent about, bringing it back to how does this impact kids and how can we help kids and how can we best set kids up for long-term success. And
Well, I would put that right back at you because you are somebody who cares deeply about our community and always have. And it shows in your actions as well. And I love your entrepreneurial spirit, how you bring that together in care and compassion for the community. So thank you.
well, thank you. No,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. This is the community that, kind of gave me a shot and to build me up. And so I feel especially, we live here. This
Yeah.
is our home.
Right.
And,
Right.
we can either, throw a fit and leave or we can say,
Yeah.
what can I do? What can I do to make it better?
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And I remember when I was, on the school board, one of the things that I noticed was some of the people who I saw have the biggest impact were sometimes business leaders who would step up to do the right thing
Yeah.
and help the community. And I remember meeting some of them and thinking, I want to do that because if you're going to do it, let's do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like if I'm able to in any way use anything that I'm doing with the, the podcast or media or the paper, or just I still fight for legislation stuff just on my own.
Good for
And
you.
I think that like all that stuff is so important because, I don't know, I don't have kids yet, but I sometimes think about, when I do, I'd like to raise kids in a world that's not batshit crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
And I think, you got to make the difference kind of where you are and within your own sphere.
yeah,
That's where you're gonna not only see results, but you're gonna have an impact, and the ripple effect is definitely there. So,
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
And then you also serve on the school board.
I do.
What zone are you?
I am Zone 1
Zone 1. I'm rethinking where that is.
at
That's
West Salem and South Salem.
okay.
Yeah,
Yes. Well, that's West Salem, and then that's like
portions of
Illahee area.
Yeah, portions of.
I've always
and
thought that was the weirdest
It's
zone.
it's an odd little zone, but I was elected this May, and of which I just am so honored to serve in this way.
Yeah.
I also had the honor and pleasure of being appointed the year prior in 24, like March or April of 24, when that seat became open. So it was
What happened there? Why did
it was
that?
really nice. The person Osvaldo,
Yeah.
he stepped down, and
Why did he step down? Was he just like,
he just had, I think he had just a lot of things going on in his life, and knew he wanted to just sort of make room to take care of some personal things, and so the seat was open, and as you know, I had considered running previously.
I do remember that,
and the timing just wasn't there. So being appointed actually was a real gift because, as you know, it takes a good year or two to kind of figure out your role as a
Yes, I
school
would
board
agree.
director. And so it's been a great time I used that year to really learn about what I needed to do. So I felt like this year I could sort of jump right in.
yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
and being appointed, you kind of get, well, there's two things with that. One of them, typically when they appoint people, I'm usually like, because the person they appoint is usually some schmuck who just wants to run for another office, and I have the biggest, I don't think very highly of people who only like are using that as a stepping
You're not
stone.
calling me a schmuck, are you?
I don't think you are. That's my
Okay.
entire point. Well, that's why usually when they
Just kidding.
appoint people, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Because like, don't get me wrong, I like those people. Some of them are still my friends, and I
Yeah.
appreciate them as people. And I see, someone's got to do the job.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big fan of people who want to be a politician.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know. I just think, I believe public office should be held for people who are out already doing things in the community. They already have their own life, their own career, their own skill set, things that they're doing
Agree.
positively, and then they choose for a period of time to serve.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's what you're doing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And because like you don't need to do it, your life would be way easier without doing it. But you're choosing to do it because you care, and that's something I remember when we talked about you running originally. I remember thinking, oh, dude, she'd be really good. So when they appointed you, I was
Yeah.
like, that was a good pick.
Oh,
And so
thank you.
I was very
Thank
happy
you.
about that, actually,
Thank you.
which
I
isn't
appreciate it.
typically the case, to be honest.
Well, I like it that I made it on your list. No, it really has been an honor. And, being in politics is not the goal for me. This really is it's a way for me to serve my community. And I think what I am so passionate about, I'm passionate about education, I'm passionate about children, and I'm passionate about families. And this is a role where I get to bring all of those pieces together. And it's also professionally, I kind of that's my profession as well, is working with children, families, and the community. So it's just, for me, it's sort of a natural next step. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, and just with your experience, I mean, you have 11 years of experience in your role as the executive director of early learning education. Did I get the title correctly?
Marion and Polk Early Learning Hub.
Early Learning Hub.
You say the hub.
The hub.
The hub.
Sounds like a place. Sometimes
we're
we
cool.
refer to this as the pod. You know what I mean? Yeah, then we'll hang out. You want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
So I used to lead Young Life at McKay for a little while.
Yeah. I remember you talking
whether or
about
not why they would let me lead a youth group, I don't know. But I'm a little rough around the edges, So, but we had this Friendsgiving, and I got along the best with a lot of the Islander kids because Islander culture and Native culture are kind of like hand in hand.
I get
They're like
that.
our cousins.
Uh-huh.
And so I had this group of like Islander boys, and they were they were the coolest. And we had this Friendsgiving.
Yeah.
And originally, like, I don't know, I don't go to a lot of, like, I used to go to a lot of social things, like when I first met you, but since then I've grown a little bit more introverted. And I remember like getting a little bit of anxiety at the time. I was like, there's gonna be a ton of people here. I was like, but the kids really wanted me there. So like usually I'm like a dog when you go into the dog park, you know, like they don't want to get in the car, but once they get to the dog park, they're like, yeah,
Yeah, let's do this.
yeah. And so anywho, so I pull up and I brought Martinelli's, the sparkling cider, and I remember walking in. We were at the Croc Center, and I walk in with the Martinelli's apple
Right.
cider, and one of the kids yells, "He brought the Nellies!" And then we pop
That's
open,
hilarious.
and the other adults are like, I'm like, guys, I don't know what to do here.
I'm going to call it Nellie's from now on, though.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
But anyways, the hub and the pod, it seems like something
there we
that
go.
those boys would have said. So that's what that reminded me of.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about your early learning hub first.
Yeah, sure.
So we wrote a couple articles this year about, well, I guess I'll preface this with, you know, when I bought the SBJ, it was very much focused on like a lot of logistical business things, which is great, and we still do some of that. But I think I changed kind of the mission statement since I've, you know, took the helm and changed in our mission statement into helping make our community a good place to own a business and have a family.
Yes.
Because why are we in business?
Right.
You know, we're only in
Right.
business like to do three things, right? First is to feed our families, to like have money so then like we can pay for our life and live. Two, to help our employees be able to pay for their lives.
Right.
And, you know, like to employ them so then they could feed their families. One of the biggest responsibilities I had was when I started hiring people. And it's stressful. Like one of my favorite guys, he's my admin guy. He just got married on Monday.
Aw,
And
congratulations.
yeah, and so I had to sit there and be like it just hit me, and I was like, man, like him getting married, and like he goes home to his wife, and like I'm responsible for, like, if I don't do well and I don't perform, then like he doesn't get to like go home and like, you know, take his girl out or like do this or that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like there's a big responsibility there. And then the third thing is, you know, doing cool things, like building cool stuff and doing cool things for the community, you know, making the community better, you know, because all those things lead to the, you know, and we can have some fun along the way. And so, along with that, right, I've realized that I have a bigger responsibility of making sure that making the community better piece, right?
Yeah.
And that's something I've really tried to work on. And so I've been hitting a lot more on issues that affect families and that affect our community as a whole. I try to stay out of social issues for the most part.
Sure.
But if it's a social issue that I can tie to like the economy or to business or to, those kind of worlds that I live in, then I typically will. And one of the things that we wrote about was early childhood, like daycare and education.
Yeah,
Childcare. There it is. I used to be so good at the acronyms.
Well,
Just lost it. But yeah, so early childcare, and it's kind of crazy when you look at the stats, because like Marion and Polk County, not even Marion and Polk County, I think it goes kind of the valley as a whole is kind of struggling in the sense of having affordable childcare, which I mean the country as a whole is. That's kind of a nationwide issue.
Yep. But
But specifically the valley has even less than most of the rest of the state. Why do you think that is?
well, there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Actually, pretty much the whole state is considered a child care desert.
Yeah.
Which is where there's
That's what we wrote about.
just not enough child care to meet the needs of the number of children and the needs of families. Over the last really 10 to 13 years, the state has been investing heavily in subsidized childcare, subsidized preschool programs to help alleviate that. The good news is we're seeing the impact of that, and actually
Are you talking about the state's subsidization?
of childcare. But what we're seeing is that because of that, we are attracting more childcare providers, which is great. They're higher quality, which is also really great.
That's a good thing.
And because of the subsidization, they are also more affordable for families. And so that investment in the workforce, and that investment in bringing others along is having an impact. And in fact, our desert status, if you will,
Yeah.
has gone down.
Oh, that's good. Are you talking about as a state or like our
well,
community?
both,
Okay.
both, but in particular within our community,
Yeah.
particularly in the 3 to 5 year old, where we still really struggle is that 0 to 3, or infant and toddler care is what
Yeah.
we often call it, and so there's just not enough. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and one is around it. Being a childcare business owner is such a razor thin margin
Yeah. Why is that?
because you've got to pay staff
Yes.
for that. The state to be licensed, you have to have a particular ratio of adults to children. And so that increases your
Yeah.
staffing needs. And then just running a business, the cost of food, the
Well, and
food.
I would assume insurance for that kind of business would probably be fairly
Insurance
expensive.
is a lot. It is that's
Yeah.
a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to help solve that.
I can raise up the issues, I
Yeah.
guess.
There just are a lot of factors that
Yeah.
go into that. And I think also, even with the increase of offering some subsidized programs for families, it's still not enough. And it's only up to 200% of the poverty level that those subsidized programs will offer. And so then what we're finding, the biggest gap is for families who are at 201% and above. Childcare is expensive. It's
It is
anywhere
extremely
from
expensive.
$1,200 to $1,800 a month, depending on the location, depending on the age of your child, and that's a lot of money for families.
Yeah.
And the economics around that for working families, often you have to make a choice.
Well, how much did you say it is a month, typically?
Anywhere from 12 to 18, and it sort of varies. Like it's not.
And that's would that be for like somebody working full time?
That's for the cost to the family per child.
Yeah. For like to cover basically, I go to work, I drop my kid off at daycare,
Yeah.
I pick them up when I get
Right.
done.
Yeah.
That's a crazy expense because, I mean, think about it. You have your regular life expenses, right? And then you add on an additional
Yeah.
$1,800. Who has an additional $1,800
And
a
if
month?
you have more than one child,
Yeah, that's a crazy
Yeah.
cost. So,
So-
how much does the state subsidize, do you know? With their program. So their program covers like the lower income level.
Right. So there are a couple of different programs, not to get too technical, but there's one called Preschool Promise, and that goes up to 200% of the federal poverty level. And those programs are found often in schools. They're found in child care centers. They're also found in child care homes. And so, but the state pays a per child cost, and it's about $1,600 a month, $1,700 a month. That doesn't go to the family. That goes to the provider to provide that cost for families.
Yeah, because they pay the provider directly.
Correct.
I believe. Yeah.
Correct. Then there's other programs, Head Start.
But also, I would like to touch on that because with that, because I know a little bit about that subsidization program. I dated a girl, a kid at one point in my life, and I learned all about it.
Yeah.
Because they adjust the amount based off of your need. So for example, like if you're not working full time, you get less, or like if I think she was going to school, and so they helped out a little bit more because there was time for school. So like when I learned about it, and I mean I could be wrong, but from what I saw when I learned about the program, I actually was like, oh, that's a pretty cool program.
Yeah.
And it's good because like especially during COVID, right? I think everyone, even me, right? We all have like a little bit of a suspicion when it comes to like money because they were just throwing money or left and right without checking.
Yeah.
Whereas like I think with that program that the state does of subsidizing childcare, actually they adjust it according to the work, and it seems like it's done fairly well.
Yeah. So that policy that you're talking about is employee related.
Oh, is it different?
Yeah. ERDC.
Yes.
So it's a different program.
There's multiple programs.
Oh my, yes.
Oh, goodness.
Because we can't make things super simple.
Why do we do this to ourselves?
Right. So the program that you're talking about is
Lord.
Employment Related Daycare, ERDC. And
Yeah.
that over the last 2 bienniums has had what I consider a significant positive policy shift in making it more useful for families.
Yeah.
So it sounded like your friend at the time was also going to school. In the olden days, if you will, ERDC didn't cover if there was somebody going to school.
Oh.
And
Well, maybe they didn't. I don't know.
well,
I remember.
right,
I thought I remembered that
there
happening.
there were a
But
lot of really good
what do I know?
policy shifts to make it a better, more useful tool for families.
Yeah.
And which is great because we saw a lot more people who qualified for employment-related daycare and really needed it. The challenge is it's really expensive for the state, and so now we're seeing sort of a little bit of a regression in that because the funding just isn't quite there to keep up with that. The program that I was talking about earlier is Preschool Promise, which school program.
Oh, I see.
It's very much
specifically for a certain age gap.
correct,
Okay.
and that's just for 3 and 5-year-olds, and it's very similar and you're familiar with Head Start and Oregon Pre-Kindergarten.
Yeah.
So that's a subsidized preschool program, which are specific hours during the day.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. I've heard that Head Start and some of these other preschool programs have really long wait lists.
And that's what we've been trying to do is to eliminate some of those wait lists.
So what can you do? Because just so you know, I live at the top of the rumor mill.
Oh, great!
with what
well,
I do.
let's just dispel all those rumors. Shall we?
Well, people always come to me and like tell me things.
confirm or
I usually
deny.
don't say nothing because I don't know. But what the good part about that, right, is that it's things like that sometimes do come up, and that's one thing that has come up quite a bit, is that that like there's really long wait times and it's hard to get in and it's hard for parents to navigate that. And so like, especially like people without guidance, I think that's one of the harder things. Cause for example, for me, like growing up, like, I don't know, without parents, it's like I ended up getting adopted and those parents were like, helped me with a lot of stuff, but it was still like before and after I didn't ask them for help because like I didn't know how. So a lot of times like I was still doing things on my own. And like, I don't know, I just remember getting into college, like navigating college stuff was really hard. Getting like just regular life things, like figuring out who do I talk to? Where do I go? And especially, so I could imagine add a kid on top of that.
Right.
On top of that stress,
hard.
Without the support,
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be hard to do.
Well, you asked about wait lists.
Yes.
And really at the crux of that question is about how do families find out about options? And that is something that the Marion and Polk Early Learning Hub, that's one of the things that we exist to do.
Oh, that's a good thing.
It is a great thing.
That's a real good thing.
We have something that we call coordinated enrollment. It's not the most creative title, but this is where families come to us and they tell us what type of preschool. And so typically we work in the 3 and 5-year-old sphere and looking specifically at preschool, not necessarily child care where it's just I'm going to work and I need to drop my child off. This is about preschool. So families can tell us a little bit about what they're looking for. And then we help them based on what they're looking for, based on their income eligibility, find the subsidized preschool program that will work best for them. And so that could be Head Start or Oregon Pre-Kindergarten. It could be Preschool Promise. And so we help and then link them up with the program, whether it's in a center or at a school district or in a family home that offers these services.
Oh, cool.
And along with that, because again, it's that navigation, like how is it that we can know what might be available in the community?
Well, especially like if it's your first time being a parent.
Exactly. There's so much to do. And, families, I think, often really struggle with, how can they best meet their child's needs? They're having to, not only put food on the table, pay rent, and do all those things, and then navigate all those things. So we also have family navigators that can help where a family might be struggling with something, and then we can get them connected into the services that will help them the most.
Do you connect them into like other nonprofits and stuff that kind of cover those bases?
We sure do.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So
'cause that's one thing that, we talked about this a little bit before we started. Whereas like there's so many people doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
Like we have like how many homeless nonprofits in town? Like 3,700.
Yeah.
And then we have so many of them overlap where it's like you'd be better off just working together and then we'd have less admin costs.
Right.
But instead we all just have the ego of needing to do our own thing.
Right.
So
Well, that's
But
our goal. We want to add value to
yeah,
the process. We're not here to provide all of those things. We're
yeah,
here to help families find what they
where to
need,
go? Yeah.
where to go.
Well, because for example, with the family services, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's family building blocks.
Mm-hmm.
There's like Liberty House if they
Yep.
need, if, on the other
Yep.
side of things, or there's what else? The Boys and Girls Club,
Right.
and I don't know, 100 others,
Yeah.
which they're all good, like really good programs. But
Absolutely.
it's
They're
like if you're a
fabulous.
parent, how do you know
Right.
where to go? But yeah, I like to think I'm fairly involved and I know a lot of things,
Yeah.
but actually I don't know anything. But
You do.
I think that, even then, like I just learned about garden services
Oh,
like
yeah.
last year.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so this year,
Mm-hmm.
earlier this year is when I learned about garden services and
Yeah.
what they do,
Yeah.
and so like there's a lot of people who like, they're just trying to live life. And so
Yeah.
while you and me, we've been like involved in like, this is like, we've been kind of in the trenches for a long time. So for
Mm-hmm.
us, it's like, oh, well, family building blocks does this. But to a regular person who just had a kid for the first time,
Right.
they've seen maybe the logo,
Yeah.
but I don't
Right.
know what they
But
do.
it doesn't
And
really mean, yeah.
yeah, and so
And
to
so-
have someone help navigate
Yeah.
them, I think is probably really good.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
And like I said, we really help families find that subsidized program and help that enrollment so that we're ultimately reducing wait lists as
Mhm.
well, because we don't want wait lists.
Yeah.
We want families to find a place and do all those things, and then also connecting with other programs.
Yeah.
Maybe they've got a younger child, so we can connect them with family building blocks is
Mhm.
another way, because it's
Do you also help people? Because kind of what I heard you saying was like you're connecting when a family comes to you. It's like, hey, I really need daycare or something. Then you'd be like, okay, well, let me connect you with the right spot.
mm-hmm,
And so maybe like the one place they were going to has this long of a wait list.
mm-hmm.
But then you guys know of a couple places that have this long of a wait
Right.
list. So then you can get them in. You help
Right.
feed them into a different line, so to speak. Like at the
Yeah.
grocery store, there's 2 aisles. One of them's
Right.
really long, one of them's shorter. You're like, hey, let's go to this aisle over
Let's
here.
go over, yeah.
Is that kind of what you guys?
It
Is that a
is.
part of it?
That's definitely
Okay.
a part of it. Primarily, I would say the foot forward is around those subsidized preschool programs.
Yes.
But then we also help families navigate and get to other programs that would also meet their needs.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I want to hear your thought on this. This popped in my head. So recently, I've been kind of honing in on the homeless issue.
Yeah.
So as you know, that's
yeah.
something that
I saw your podcast with DJ.
yeah,
Very
that's something
nice.
that I'm very passionate about. And because I was on the one of the original executive committees for the
Yeah, I
Homeless
remember
Alliance.
that. I remember.
Yeah, back in 2018, I think. 2017,
Kind of right at the
2018.
beginning, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
and just because of my experience being homeless 2 years before
Right.
I got
Right.
into office,
It was-
and one of the things that's something I'm super passionate about, and I was talking with this guy named Josh Lair. Do you know Josh Lair?
I don't.
So he was also on that same committee with me when we first
Okay.
started. So it was me, Christy, Kathy Clark, Josh Lair. I think Commissioner Kevin Cameron was on that one.
Okay.
But anywho, there was a good group of folks on this committee, and Josh Lair was a part of it. He had been through, I believe it was the UGM's program,
Okay.
and got himself out of homelessness, and because he had recent past lived experience, he served on the committee in that role. And just over the course of the last 10 years, he's really grown as a leader and as
that's
helping
awesome.
get people out of
Yeah.
homelessness. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things, so I went out with, it was me. Do you know Jennifer Benavides? I may have butchered her
don't.
last name.
I don't know.
She is head boss lady at MAPS now, who does insurance.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
she's
Okay.
super awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
And let's see, Manny Martinez
Mm-hmm.
and Josh. There's a small group of us. Elizabeth Infante, she does real estate. But there's a small group of us, and they invited me to go out there with them, and we went to go talk to some of the homeless folks, because there's what we hear in the
Yeah.
paper,
Yeah.
and there's what we get told, as when you're sitting in a boardroom, and sometimes
Yeah.
that doesn't match reality.
Right.
And so we're like, well, let's just go talk to some folks. And so we did. And there was this girl named Carmen. Did you see the story that we wrote?
No,
I'm gonna be releasing more about this.
Okay.
Because it's a really cool story, and then two, it kind of shows a program that reminds me kind of what you do, but for homelessness.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
Josh really wants to implement this program, where essentially he would go in and he would have a team, and they navigate people out of homelessness.
Great.
So how you guys help
Yeah.
people navigate early
Yeah.
learning,
Mhm.
early learning childcare. How do I say it?
Childcare.
He's trying to do a similar thing with homelessness, which doesn't necessarily exist right now. Because right now there's all these individual programs,
Yeah.
and there's the Mid-Atlantic Valley Homeless Alliance, but they help the back end.
Right.
What he's wanting to do is a program that helps the front end.
Yeah.
And recently, because there wasn't much support in Marion and Polk County before, he's been doing that in Lane County, helping out Eugene.
Okay.
And from what I hear, it's been a super successful program. And in just the couple hours that we did it here, there's this girl named Carmen who was pregnant. We met her in front of Rite Aid. And Elizabeth Infante and Jennifer Benavides, they helped, and Josh's help, they helped navigate this girl into a program, and now she's been in that program successfully doing it. There's been bumps in the road, but having that navigator there helped get her out and get her plugged into these programs. Yeah,
That's
and
wonderful.
so do you think a program like that, which I also understand, like while that sounds amazing, there's also a cost.
Yes.
Do you think that the cost of having a program like that would be beneficial to the community?
I definitely do, because I think it's filling a niche that it isn't available.
Yeah.
And it is supporting all the other programs to do what they do best, which is serve families. And so if we can reduce that burden to the providers, whether it's in preschool or childcare, or it's in homelessness services or anything else, great. Also, the benefit to the family or to the individual, I think, is just absolutely incredible. Just taking that stress off. And when I think about, building community, that's what we're here to do. And it's that sense of connection that I think is missing from today's world often. That's that
like
real
the relationship.
and that relationship and how and where do I fit in, and where am I going to get my needs met, so that in our case, it's so that our children can be successful and thrive and enter school ready.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I think also just from an efficiency standpoint, right?
Yeah.
As a taxpayer,
Right.
if we're funding these programs, we'd like them to be ran well.
Right. Yeah.
And so whether we're donating privately or paying through taxes, either way, maybe it sounds like, because you guys are kind of like the oil in the engine, making sure everything's running smooth.
Right.
And I think it's really cool. I think it's a cool program you're running.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's go a little bit deeper into this education world.
Okay.
Literacy.
Yes.
So right now, I believe math and literacy numbers for third grade is supposed to be coming out soon, isn't it?
Well, the
Has it come
numbers
out?
came out.
They did.
And they don't look great.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What'd they say?
Yeah. They said that about a third of our kids only about a third of our kids are reading proficiently at grade level or third grade level.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting stat, right? Because now, I don't know if they do this anymore, but prisons used to judge how many prison beds to buy based off of third grade reading levels.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And so
I've heard that.
And so I think that, like, whether or not that is a direct correlation, right? The important part is it's not a good correlation.
It's not a good correlation. Yeah. And I think for me, the literacy scores that did come out, and you can look at them online, and you can look at them on the district website. You can look at them on the state level website. They're not great all over the state.
Yeah.
And Salem-Keizer is really not doing well when you think just about Salem-Keizer, but that goes for all the other districts here in our region as well.
How are we doing in comparison to the state?
We are just under.
So the state, aren't we ranked like 49th?
Well,
overall in education.
Well, in education,
yeah.
I don't know how they ranked on third grade literacy specifically.
That's fair. Yeah.
But suffice it to say, we are not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, Jesse, this has got to be a real call to action for the whole community.
Yeah.
This is not just a school district responsibility.
Yeah.
It's everybody's responsibility. And so when I think about particularly in that 0 to 5 age range, mm-hmm. which is where, we focus our attention, there are many things that we can do to help to support our families and having access to materials and resources that will help to support them. And then also that we can train our early educators, those who are providing care, like in a preschool or in a childcare setting, helping to ensure that they have the materials that they need. So that's some of the things, and we can talk about specifics around some of those pieces that we're doing. I would say also this is the community has got to help to support
Yeah.
literacy. And
Well,
business owners are, a really huge, important detail or
mhm.
important component of that.
Well, I guess I have a couple of different questions about it. One of them is it a resource problem or is it kind of a culture slash parenting problem? Because, I mean, most kids have access to a phone or an iPad or a
Mm-hmm.
book.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones who don't, you can go get books. And so, like, it's not like you don't have access to literature.
Well,
Do you,
I
what
don't
are your
think it's
thoughts on
any.
that? Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
it's not any one thing. I
Okay.
will say, particularly in lower income households.
Yeah.
In fact, we did a survey that the number that I'm going to tell you is an old number, but
Yeah.
it does line up with some national research. Right around 20%,
Mm-hmm.
20% of families in lower income families have fewer than 12 books in the home, period. So let
Fair
that
enough.
sink in. That's not just children's books, that's books overall.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I mean, yes, you could say, families aren't putting priority on accessing those materials, or, you could put
Yeah.
all kinds of value
Are
judgment on
are
it.
they including Kindles in this?
Well, I'm not going to put value judgment on all
Okay.
of that,
Fair
but I'm
enough.
saying it's that access to materials
Yeah.
that I think as a community, frankly, that's an easy one to help out with. I mean, when you
Mm-hmm.
think about the little free libraries that have been
Yes.
going up and are very popular, making sure that those are filled with books.
Yeah.
We also run the program. I don't know if you've heard about Dolly Parton or heard of Dolly Parton.
Who's
Have
that?
you?
She has.
I know.
Is
I
she like
know.
an actor?
Like, just an American
Just an
icon.
American icon. Yes,
Right.
girl. She's wonderful.
So
Her
we,
stories, hearing her talk.
oh my
Oh my
gosh.
goodness, she's really cool.
She's amazing. So
Yeah.
she started in, I think it was like 93, started the Dolly Parton's Imagination
She
Library.
started that in '93.
I believe it was 93.
See, I heard
Don't
about
quote
it a
me on
couple
that.
years ago, and
Yeah.
I thought that was such a cool program. I didn't
Well, she
realize it's been
started
going
it
on
just
for
in
so
her
long.
hometown, so just very small.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a tribute to her father, who was illiterate
Mm.
and was always one of his big regrets, and also is something that she saw him struggle with her and his whole life. And so she wanted to do something to give back to the community. And so fast forward, here we are in 2025. It is now a program as actually part of the group that helped to make sure that all of Oregon was covered by the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. And then for here in Marion and Polk County, we as a nonprofit are
Mm.
what they call the affiliate for Dolly Parton Imagination
Oh,
Library.
cool.
So we are doing absolutely everything we can to raise money for that because it's free to families.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dollywood Foundation covers most of the cost. But we have to come up with some of the cost as well as an affiliate. And then the state is also kicking in a little bit of money. So
I
it's a
see.
good value proposition for
Mm.
getting involved.
Well, how could people help out with that? Just by like donating money, donating
Yes.
books? Can they donate
So
books?
no, you cannot donate books. So
Oh.
the
Well, I thought the whole
program,
problem was that there's a lack of
right?
books.
I know, but here's how this program
Okay.
solves.
All right.
It is a program where children ages 0 up to the age of 5,
Uh-huh.
they are mailed a book a month
Oh, I see.
to their home. And the
Mhm.
great thing is the Dollywood Foundation handles all of that. So we're not labeling books and putting them in the
I see
mail.
what you mean. Yeah.
She's doing all of that work for us. And so they manage all the databases and all the things and
Mm.
selecting the books and getting them sent
Oh,
out. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Is there a local program where like if someone has, if there's a grandma in our community who
Yeah.
listens to this who has a bunch of kids books,
sure.
that they could donate it and it
Yeah.
would get to kids?
So a couple of things that I would suggest. One is little free libraries are
Okay.
popping up everywhere. I know we have supported many getting started. If people wanted to donate books, we don't normally do this, but I would take any book because then
Okay.
I would make sure that they get back out into the community in those ways. And many nonprofit organizations also
Would take books.
accept books.
Okay.
That's an important component for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
as long as I know that people would be like, well, why do you want money? You don't want books.
No,
And-
right. Yeah.
But yeah, I know it seems
but
like
that's how that program specifically
yeah.
is.
When it seems like the reason why that might be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And here was what came in my head is, typically I would assume, I don't actually know this, but I would assume that like the books that she picks out to send them are probably good for their age
Yes.
level, and then also like with a strategy and goal in mind of helping them learn how to read.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All of the books, well, the first book that everybody gets, no matter what, is The Little Engine That Could, because that's her favorite book.
That's a good book.
So it is. It's an awesome book. And then you're exactly right. So they curate the list based on the age of the child. And so when you sign your child up, you have to put the birth date in, and then they will send the age appropriate books. And they are stellar books. The list is curated by national literacy experts, and so they know what they're doing. And they're super high quality books.
Yeah.
The other piece that I like about them, the board books, they don't do this for the infants, but on all the other books, there's a little book jacket on there, and there's a little letter from Dolly and some age-specific ways to engage with your child on that book. So
That's
it's
fair.
super cool.
I'd probably trust the national literacy experts more than the statewide ones
Okay.
in the current moment.
All right.
So I mean, that's probably a good thing
Yeah.
that it is. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, just general population, if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
because nationally, how are we doing nationally on third grade literacy? What's the average?
That's a good
Rate?
question.
67 to 70% of students.
Yeah.
What are we at?
We're right around 30.
30% that can?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was 30% that can't.
No.
We have about 30% of kids that can read by third grade, like proficiently.
It's a call to action, Jesse.
What? We're like, okay, so let's just say, because that said like 65. Let me re-look at the number. Okay, so here it says around 67 to 70% of students are meeting third grade level reading standards in the U.S. And this is saying national third grade literacy in the U.S. is a concern, showing that 67 to 70% of students meeting third grade reading level.
Yeah.
And we're
So-
at 30%.
Correct.
That is crazy.
It is crazy. And again, I think it is something that we all play a role in, making sure that we're encouraging books. Like give
Yeah.
books as a birthday gift for those birthday parties that you attend. Make time to volunteer in your school or at a local program and engage
Yeah.
with kids around stories.
Well, are we as for example, as a school district I haven't been as involved in the last few years, but do we have, like, I understand that the school district can only do so much,
Yeah.
right? They can't, they can't raise your kids for you.
Right.
But, they in the time that they have them, they can do what they can do.
Yeah.
And they have to meet certain
Yeah.
state expectations. I totally get that.
Yep.
But one piece where I feel like the school district could play a role, right, is they're the literacy experts, not
Yeah.
parents. Parents are not literacy
Yeah.
experts.
No.
They're just trying to raise their kid the best
Right.
they can.
Exactly.
So is there a way that or has the school district talked about, okay, this is a huge problem.
Yeah.
Here's a strategy.
Yep.
And so then, like, we can point parents in a direction. Like, so when we say, hey, go volunteer at your kids
Yeah.
at school, like, there's a program that your parents can get involved in
Yeah.
to help kids read. That doesn't cost, isn't just throwing money at a problem,
Right.
but it's like actual human, physical people
Mm-hmm.
helping kids go learn how to read. Like, is there a program like that at all, or has there been discussion of
there
it?
are a lot of resources. So now we're talking about Salem Kaiser's.
Salem Kaiser
School-
as a whole. Yeah.
Right. So as school district, I just want to make sure that I'm very clear
Yeah.
how
That's-
I'm answering that, because in my day job, I represent Marion and Polk counties, of which
Oh,
there's
that's fair. Well, we can
lots.
talk about
Yeah.
Marion and Polk County. Yeah.
Well, I think we can do
But-
both. But
Yeah.
there are definitely resources, and our school districts are really concerned about these numbers.
Yeah.
All school districts in our region and Salem Kaiser. So everybody is doing what this has been a wake up call for our schools.
Yeah.
And so been a lot of attention paid to the curriculum and a lot of attention paid to how children are taught. And then also, I think the third leg to that stool is how are we engaging with families to bring them along as partners. And so I think there is a shift in the culture around that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I think about Salem Kaiser, of which I'm more familiar with some of the specifics, our district is doing a lot to help to support literacy, not just in third grade, but beyond. There is curriculum adoption that is happening this year. So we've got a couple of different curriculums. They've narrowed it down to 2 different curriculums.
Okay.
And so they're being piloted. And so later on, or in 2026, end of the school year, we as a school board will actually take the recommendation of the committees who have been working on this and adopting a new curriculum. For our elementary schools, in January, for 3 days, that last week in January, our elementary schools are going offline, if you will. Yeah. And all of our teachers have a 3-day mandatory training specifically on the science of reading. So this isn't on the curriculum that will be selected, because the curriculum that they're looking at is based on the science of reading.
Yeah.
But what the district is doing is investing a lot of time and money into supporting our teachers having some of the basics. Because what we also know over the last 20 years, I mean, you know how curriculum or the ways of teaching kind of they change, right? And over the last 20 years, a state as a whole has shifted the literacy policy to be more whole language based.
What does that mean, whole language based?
So I'm not a literacy expert, so I'm not going to go very deep into that.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's really around sort of looking at the context of the words around and the context of what is there and making meaning out of the whole, rather than what we have with the science of reading is really more around phonemic awareness.
So what I'm hearing you say is, when we're talking about what was the word you used? Whole language.
Whole language. That's just
whole
sort
language
of
literacy.
That's a general.
Okay. Yeah. So like just regular, like let's just use the word regular literacy. I don't know the terms, right. But so regular literacy would be, can I physically read the words correctly? And then whole language literacy would be, okay, yes, I can read the sentence and I can read it, but like, do I actually understand what it means and like what's
reading comprehension, right? Yeah. So there's a way to put print together in a way that makes sense in our brains, and like how do we connect those words and those sounds together? And then there's around how do I comprehend what is there? And just different ways to teach it. And it's not that it's bad, it's just a different way to teach it.
Yeah.
Now we're shifting back to sort of the science of reading, or again, more phonemic, and really breaking those pieces down so that you know how words are formed, which gets to the how to engage with reading, and then adding in some of that comprehension piece. And so it's just a little bit of a shift in how we're approaching it. So the time in January is to really get down to some of those basics. And for some teachers, this might be, again, sort of the approach is a little bit different, because that's not maybe how they were taught when they were in college, particularly if they're newer in their career. Yeah. And again, I'm not casting any dispersions. It's just sort of making sure that we as a district are really an alignment with how we are approaching literacy and literacy development.
Question for you, because I guess I have a couple questions. One of them is, when we were talking about things that could help, because we were talking about how teaching changes. Okay, so I guess if teaching changes and the way that we're teaching changes, I feel like it sometimes can be useful, adapting to the way the world works.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I feel like you know, like when Apple does an update on the iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't need the update, it just does the update, and we all get annoyed by it, and we're like, why did you do this? Which I think a lot of people are experiencing recently with some of the newer ones, right? I feel like sometimes we tend to fix things that didn't need fixing. For example, when we were talking about, you know, what could people do to help with the literacy thing, the thing we're talking about was books. Books have been around
You're right.
for how long?
Yeah.
And
Right.
like, you know, that, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes, do you think that maybe, you know, if we just go back to the basics?
Well, I think there is some of
You know?
I think there is some of that going back to, but I think it's also doing it within the context that
Yeah.
in the context of the world we're in. Like
Yeah.
we're not going to get away from tablets. We're not going to get away from phones.
Yeah, it's
right?
happening. Yeah.
Right.
It
And
happened. It
we-
already did happen.
We could fight it, but you know what? We
Yeah.
would lose. And so how is it that we can provide literacy rich tools
Yeah.
for families? One thing that we are testing right now with, again, I'm going back to as an early learning hub, one thing that we're testing with the school district, or Salem Kaiser School District, and with the YMCA is a program called VOOKS, and that's books with a V.
Okay.
And
Are these like French books?
No, they're not.
Oh.
But that'd be kind of cool, though. But these are animated stories that are built on the science of reading. There are many programs out there. I know this, but this is one in particular that we're testing because it has that family component to it.
What does that mean? So an
That
animated
means-
story, is that like a movie or like a video?
No, it is not a movie. It is literally a book.
Like a physical book?
Well, it's on an iPad.
Okay.
Or a computer.
Yeah.
But they're built like a book, and then the child can then follow along with that. And
So
then,
like it'll light up like the words and stuff. Does that? Okay.
and then also you can record. So like a parent or a caregiver or maybe a grandma and grandpa that live far away, they can actually record those stories. And
that's
there are,
cool.
there are different ways that you can actually then manipulate and kind of work in with the materials. But we've added lessons into that as well that could be used in the classroom. But where I think is going to have the biggest bang is with families to again engage with your child on a book, but it is on an iPad.
Yeah.
And also we've got physical books to go with those as well.
So Jason Tokarski was my mentor. Christy hooked me up with him when I was like 20, and actually I'm so thankful for that relationship and for Christy for doing that because he's been so helpful, and it's just me growing as a leader.
Yeah, totally.
And so when I bought the SBJ, because you know, like Larry Tokarski funded Salem Reporter, forever, and so they had me reach out to Les because to mentor me because you know Harold was a young kid trying to figure it out, and first of all, I'm cutting this out. He was the rudest guy.
Oh.
He was so mean. Yeah, and then not just that, but like one, he didn't like the way we write, which sometimes we don't follow AP style. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because nobody cares other than
Right.
other journalists. You know what I mean? And so in the same sense, you know, I feel like the way we talked about it, your regular person is like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's all they need.
Yeah.
If the only people who would have any issue with it, I think, would be other like
Will be the other
educators.
Educators.
Yeah.
So
and it's like that's not who we're reaching. So I don't really care, to be honest. Like I care about them as people.
No,
but,
I know.
But
I get
like,
it. Well, that's why I said it, because I'm like, oh, if educators are listening in, they may.
your average person at home would be like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
and then move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anywho, so I wanted to ask you. So beyond what this district, we talked a lot about what the district can do, right? But I have a very strong feeling, and I want to hear your thought on this. Like, what's changed? Because this is kind of a low point for our third grade literacy, is it not?
Yeah, it is. Although I will say, as a district, the pandemic did not do us any favors in any of our scores, including third grade literacy. So we've seen a real dip. What we saw this year with the release of the third grade literacy scores is that turn up. So it's not a big turn up, but Jesse, you know too, when you as somebody who watches those trends,
for sure.
the hardest one to make is that trend going from down to up.
Yeah.
And that's where, again, as a board member and as a community member, I
Yeah.
am really confident in the work and the gravity of the situation and the work
Yes.
that we're all taking, both in Salem Kaiser as well as other districts, to help improve
Yeah.
that.
Well, what do you think outside of what the district can do? Because I'm a strong believer, and I know you are as well, of not just relying on other people to solve
Right.
our problems.
Yeah.
And I know quite a few people who are parents, and they're like their child being able to read is a very big concern to them,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not high income by any means,
Mm-hmm.
and they spend a lot of time like reading to their kids and reading with their kids. Do you feel like that's what's gone down? What do you think it is about our community,
Mm-hmm.
or like Oregon as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because not like Oregon's doing much better.
Right. Right.
That is impacting third grade reading so much. Because if the national third grade reading level, right, we have about 67 to 70% of kids hitting that. We're at 30%.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that, like, us as a community, which I don't think we're that much below the state, are we?
Yeah. No, we're not that much below.
Yeah. And so,
I,
like, what do you think it is?
I think again, I'm going to say it's a lot of things. I think in our society, I do think that there's a lot more reliance on cell phones or tablets or what have you, which, again, I'm not saying it's bad. I love my phone as well.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is often that becomes a solitary piece. And so a child may have something, but they don't have anything sort of to connect it. But think about it, when you've got a book with a little kid, like you're sitting down with them, you're reading it, you're acting out the voices, you're together, you're creating that space. I think that can get overlooked. Not in all cases, certainly. I don't want to suggest that, but I think that is, when I think about a societal thing, I think that's an issue. I think, again, sort of access to books. We talked about already, the cost of books are not cheap.
No,
They're
not.
expensive, right?
Yep.
And our libraries do their absolute best to keep their doors open and all the things, but they're expensive. And so being able to purchase books that's a luxury item, or can be a luxury item. So, I think removing some of those barriers to provide access to books. And I think, language also plays a role in this, in our community, particularly our 0 to 5, where we are predominantly a Hispanic community, and when we look at our children's population, right? And so language plays a big role in that. I think that also has an impact on testing. And
how
all
much
of
do you
that,
think that language plays an impact locally?
Well, I think where we need to do a better job is around some of the assessments that we offer to children who speak other languages.
Yeah.
State testing is only in English, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Well,
but
this was an issue, when I was on the school board, and that was like 10 years ago. Well, I mean, then when I started, so I guess 6 years ago since then. And so it's like, if this was an issue then, and we knew it was an issue then, and it's an issue now, and we know it's an issue now, like the way that we're doing the tests is what you're saying, right?
Well,
and so, like, why aren't we, why is nothing getting done? Like, who is the person that we got to hold accountable and say, hey, let's fix this? Because I am aware, because one of the stats that I found really interesting when I was on the school board was graduation rates. And we were looking at graduation rates by race. And you saw a drop between the white students graduating and the Hispanic students graduating, right? And people were like, oh, there's a disparity, it's racism. But then, like, when you really break it apart, the Hispanic graduation rate, what was really interesting, and this is the stat that I found that I was like, I brought up in the school board meeting, because I wanted to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And when we broke apart and I don't know if this is still the case, at the time I remember this being the case, was when you broke apart the Hispanic graduation rate and by language, then you could see a difference between those who were bilingual, those who like came in later, and language seemed to be by far the biggest impact, because we have a lot of students come here,
right,
12, 13, younger,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so depending on what age they come in and they don't know English, that has a severe impact on your ability to learn. And
It does. And
Yeah.
I think again, just as a district, I think we are doing a much stronger job in, like, we've got the binational literacy seal for graduates. We're doing, I think, a better job of helping children embrace both of their languages, and that's been an evolution.
One of the programs, right as I was, in my last year there, I was really, well, last couple of years I was pushing for it, but we made traction finally near the end, was expanding the dual language program.
Yeah.
Because the students who came out of the dual language program, when you look at the stats, outperformed almost everybody in the entire district. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about was this. So the school district during COVID decided to, after I left and before you got on, made the decision to spend short-term COVID money on long-term employment, which was a choice. I don't know where the thinking is there, but it happened, and what's done is done. Now we're facing the situation where we have, you said it was a $25 million shortfall in the budget. Is that correct?
For this for next school year, yes.
Yes.
So
Okay.
26, 27, yes.
Okay. And we're going into a place where the school district is going to have to be negotiating with, not the classified union. What's the other union? Licensed?
So we are not, it's with our classified staff. So with the licensed union, we have an agreement.
That's already done.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're in a position where the school district is going to be negotiating with our classified staff, correct? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to talk about, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then I just want to make sure I have the basics correct.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally.
Now, when we're looking at the past year, few years, right? The classified staff, and if the numbers are incorrect, please correct me on it, and I'll fix what I say. But what I believe to be true, right, is the numbers on the increase of wages from classified staff has been up about 27% since 2020. Now, when you look at the overall wage increases of the private sector or just the country as a whole, let's just look at our state as a whole, it's not even close to that. And at the same time, costs have gone up for literally everybody. The last 4 years have been so hard. And I'm not trying to diminish anybody's pain or the increase. In fact, I don't think we pay teachers what we should in this country.
We do not. We do not.
But what my point of saying this is, I think we're in a spot right now as a community where money's tight for literally everybody. And there's not going to be a levy I just don't think a levy is going to be what's going to happen.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. And so we're just facing the reality of where we're at, right? I feel like the district's kind of in a position where people they have a choice, right? The classified staff can either accept a less of an increase, knowing that over the past 5 years they've seen a much larger increase than the rest of most people in the country, and accept less of a pay increase so that way we can keep more people employed, or really fight tooth and nail on that, and then the district has to fire people because they can't afford. Obviously, they can't afford to keep them. And I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So we are in a tough spot, and we do have to come up with $25 million that we have to reduce. So there, staffing choices that were made that predated you and I, or not a part of us, that could have happened. We also are seeing a decrease of enrollment overall, and that impacts the dollars that are coming in. And so we're seeing a lot of movement in that way. And we as a district are really taking a look at absolutely every nickel that we spend, and how can we do things in a more streamlined way. The district is been going through some budgetary, trimming absolutely everything, and are very committed to making reductions outside of the classroom, so that we are not impacting classrooms. One thing that we're very clear as a board is we don't want to jeopardize the education opportunities for children.
I would agree. Kids come first.
And we don't want to lessen the school year. We don't want to lessen we already are the shortest school year in the country. We can't afford that education sacrifice. So it's, and we have a budget that is 95% people. And that
is that the number? 95% people?
95% are
Wow.
people. So we've got some hard choices.
Yeah.
And, we have made an option is to look at, the COLA that the union did bargain for. They received it. Could we take a lesser COLA and then that on top of, some other, reductions on the administrative and district side and other things. And so we'll see what happens. But I think, our intent with that is to say we really need to do things differently.
Yeah.
And we don't have the money that as a school district that we need to support everything, and certainly not to the level that our children and families deserve. But we have what we have, and we got to do what we got to do. So
yeah. Well,
we'll see.
Just so you know, I do not envy the position that you're in, right, at all.
Thank you.
And I think that one thing I want to touch on is like, right, when I was on the school board, having this conversation, people would flip.
Yeah.
I think our political climate's become a little bit less toxic, which is good. But it's also, it's because we have to create spaces like this where we have to talk about these things.
Right.
And there are other issues too that we haven't talked about that we're going to need to talk about because if we're ever going to turn the ship around or if we ever are going to get third grade literacy levels up, if we're ever going to be able to figure out the budget issue or how do we help make sure young parents can take care of their kids, we're going to have tough conversations about things like this.
Right.
And in the fact that you're willing to do it, I really appreciate.
Well, you're welcome.
And I know it's going to be tough, and no matter what you do, because there's not really.
I think it has to be. We've got tough decisions to make this year, but we can't just focus on what is right in front of us.
Yes.
We have to think about the longer term.
You got to think ahead.
Yeah, we got to think ahead, and so that's.
And we have to think longer than your term.
Absolutely.
And that's
absolutely.
that's one thing I know that you do very well.
No,
but
it's
what I've experienced and seen other people who are on the school board or in office. Sometimes they're focused so much on looking good by the time they leave.
No, I think it was sort of generational. We have to focus on the next generation, and so that's where I like to choose my energy.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so.
What's your favorite color?
Well, it depends on the day. I'm very into black, white, and gray, but purple is also kind of a spirit color, and orange and red. So there you go.
That's a good combo. All right. Hey, thanks, guys, for listening. Thank you again to Hotel Salem and Compass Visuals for sponsoring the podcast. Appreciate you guys. I'd like to wish you all a Merry Chrysler and a happy Honda Days.